We'd like to thank our sponsors, William Hoagland, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, and Michael Torres, Chairman of the Suffolk County Conservative Party. We have a very special guest with us, of course, this evening, and I know we're all very anxious to hear from him. Would you please welcome our New York State Conservative Party Chairman, the Honorable Jerry Piscopo.
Thank you all for attending this evening. Obviously, this is a very successful event, certainly due to our honorees and obviously all you. It comes at the tail end of a campaign cycle, really like none other. And even though we're not talking about the presidency, and we're not talking about the governorship, tell me who in this nation is not talking about the New York City mayoral election. It looms ominously. And it is, and also just remember that in our extraordinarily partisan New York State, the state legislature has also rewritten the laws. So everyone that we've endorsed this year for local office, almost everybody, who should have 2-year terms, is running again next year as part of may I say, a conspiracy by the Democratic Party of New York State to try to hurt us. But we know how to fight back. Just fight back by making sure our people will vote. So the Conservative Party remains strong. I don't know if you realize this, working with the GOP and conservatives all over the state. We are fielding 1,000 candidates, actually over 1,000 candidates this year, and many of our local party leaders are running for public office, and they will be elected in their localities for public office, whether it be town supervisors or county clerks or council members or county legislators. All over the state, you'll be finding a number of new registered conservatives, either new ones holding office or old ones winning re-election. Look, the party's enrollment and our vote are historical highs. The number of organized counties we have in the state will hit a new high with the conclusion of this year's reorganizing cycle. Frankly, one other thing, which really the senator had a great deal to do with, our national affairs platform, it was several years old, and we decided to go and update it. We needed to update it because we had a new president. And we didn't realize until we reviewed it that 75% of our national affairs platform has now become law. It is either law through the budget or through the executive orders, and we can thank President Trump, we can thank Senator Cruz, we can thank Congressman Lawler and all their colleagues. You think about it, the number of years you've been involved. Has anyone ever been able to stand up here and tell you that 75% of the party's federal platform has been adopted into law? To be joined by Senator Ted Cruz, truly one of the nation's and the conservative movement's top leaders. He's firmly rooted in both conservative principles and man-on-the-street common sense. He is outspoken, and I think he's outspoken when he needs to be. I think we would all say he's forced to always. We may not see him down the block from us, but we see him on TV a lot. He's dedicated and focused. He's focused to the president. He's focused to the conservative movement agenda in D.C. and the nation. Joe Piscopo could well be known to you as a comedian, actor, singer, host of Saturdays with Sinatra, or simply an individual who donates a great deal of time to charity. In fact, I have personally been to so many charity events that he has emceed. Really remarkable. It's a commitment of time. Tonight we are honoring him for fostering an immensely popular morning drive-time radio show that has become a stalwart of the conservative talk in the metropolitan region. Many years ago we created this award. We dedicated the award to Ronald Reagan, who many of you know, I believe, was actually a radio host himself, a regular on radio, an individual who actually propelled himself to the governorship and presidency through his activities on radio. He was really, I guess, like the Rush Limbaugh of his time, and certainly Rush Limbaugh played a big role on radio in making him president. Joe, in our opinion, in the opinion of the party, follows in that nature. He is an individual who understood what Ronald Reagan was all about, and tonight we are going to honor him. Congressman Mike Lawler, who will introduce our keynote speaker, is a very close ally of the Conservative Party, both in Washington, New York State, and his district. Many believe the House majority rests upon him and the Conservative Party holding the seat. That may very well be true, but how about that he needs to return to the district simply because of his hard work, reputation as a doer, and articulation of our philosophy in the suburban urban district. With that, I'm pleased to bring up Michael Lawler, Congressman Michael Lawler.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's great to be here with all of you, and I want to thank Chairman Kassar for his great leadership and the leadership of all of the Conservative Party, which, as we all know here in New York, is vital to our success. And I especially want to thank the chairs in my district, Westchester County Chairman Hugh Fox, who is here, Rockland County Chairman Sam Namath, Dutchess County Chairman Don Minicino, and Treasurer Jim Maxwell is here from Putnam County. But we are really fortunate to have a great partnership between the Republican Party and the Conservative Party. And what we know is true is that the Republican Party would not be successful in election after election across the state without the support of the Conservative Party. So I want to thank the Conservative Party for their support, for their leadership, and certainly in my race, the Conservative Party has always been vital to my success. In 2022, when I defeated Sean Patrick Maloney, the chair of the DCCC, by 1,800 votes, the margin of victory was on the Conservative Party line. So it was the Conservative Party. It was the Conservative Party that not only helped end Sean Patrick Maloney's career, but it was the Conservative Party in New York that helped elect 11 Republicans to Congress and ended Nancy Pelosi's reign as Speaker of the House. Now, we know, with what is going on in New York City, now is more important than ever to have a strong conservative voice. And it is vital to have a strong Conservative Party. And in less than 2 weeks, we are on the verge of having an avowed socialist who engages in Marxist theory, who wants to defund the police, who wants to shut down prisons, who wants to legalize prostitution, who wants to ban private property ownership and freeze the rent, who wants to seize the means of production and raise taxes by $9 billion on New York. This is a man in Zoran Mamdani who will be a disaster for New York. And yet, sadly, New York is on the precipice of election. And we know this is going to lead to real challenges in New York City. We will see, unfortunately, under his leadership, a spike in crime. We will see, under his leadership, a rise in taxes and a continued mass exodus of this state. And you couple that with the failed, feckless leadership of Kathy Hochul, the worst governor in America, who has run this state into the ground. And it requires change. It requires leadership. And hopefully, in the next few weeks, Elise Stefanik will announce her candidacy for governor. And we will get more candidates to step forward, including Michael Henry, who's running for Attorney General. We'll get more candidates to step forward for Congress and take on Tom Suozzi and Laura Gillen and Josh Riley. I know Pete Oberacker has announced. New York is vital. Even with the disastrous leadership in New York City and New York State, New York is the difference between winning and losing. It is the difference between keeping the House Republican majority in Washington, D.C. And I have decided to run for re-election because I know how important my seat is. I know how vital it is to keeping our majority. And I'm proud of the work that we've done down in Washington. I'm proud of the fact that we delivered the single largest tax cut in American history, including lifting the cap on salt, despite efforts by some of my colleagues in the Republican Party, sorry, Senator, to stop it. But we got it done. And we got it done with President Trump's support. And President Trump, he's a New Yorker at heart. He cares about this state. He cares about the leadership in this state. He's doing everything he can down in Washington to move our country in the right direction, to grow the economy, to secure our border, to stop the massive influx of illegal immigration, to stop illegals from getting Medicaid benefits that Democrats like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries want to give them. By the way, how many of you saw my exchange with Hakeem Jeffries? An extremely incompetent leader. He is dollar store Obama. And he has led the Democrats into the abyss. And it's so bad that you know AOC and Bernie Sanders and Zohran Mamdani are driving the ship. And it is crashing. And so we have to do everything in our power to stand strong, to stand united, Republicans and conservatives working together here in New York, making sure we pick up seats next year, making sure we pick up seats in the state legislature, making sure we pick up seats in just a few weeks in the city council. And I know Ina Bernikoff is here tonight as well. We need to make sure up and down the ballot, and you are vital to that. So I want to thank you for your support. I want to thank you for your hard work. And I'm proud tonight to be joined by a conservative leader down in Washington, somebody who has stood up against the insanity of the Democratic Party and the radical extremists down in Washington who are trying everything in their power to undermine our national security. They want open borders. They're doing everything in their power to raise taxes on hardworking Americans. They're doing everything in their power to stop President Trump at every turn. Because in their mind, when they say protecting democracy, that simply means they have no respect for the will of the voters. They have no respect for the election results of last November. In their minds, stopping ICE from doing their jobs, interfering with law enforcement, spitting in the face of law enforcement officers. That's their view of protecting democracy. And it's wrong. And there's people down in Washington that are standing up against it, including a great U.S. Senator from the great state of Texas, Ted Cruz. We are fortunate to have somebody in the United States Congress, a man of principle, a man who respects the Constitution, a legal scholar, somebody who has stood up in defense of this country, who has served this country in the White House, who has served in the Bush administration, serving here in Congress, winning a critical seat to give us the majority and keep the majority moving forward. So we are proud to have the great United States Senator from the great state of Texas, Ted Cruz.
God God bless the great state of New York. Mike, thank you so much. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for asking me to come join you. It is great to be here tonight.
Great to have you.
And let me just ask you a question. How many of you are tired of winning yet?
Not yet.
What a difference a year can make. I gotta tell you, in Washington, has there ever been a president in history who has hit the ground running faster and with more energy than President Donald Trump? Every single morning I wake up, I grab my phone, and I'm like, what in the heck did we do today? And I will admit, it's a little bit like being on a full-speed roller coaster without a seatbelt and without a bar. You go up, you go down, you're moving. But I'll tell you, this is a president of action. You look at where we were a year ago. A year ago, our country was in crisis. A year ago, we had an open border where 12 million illegals had invaded this country. The worst illegal immigration in history. When President Trump was sworn back in, illegal border crossings dropped more than 99%. You know, one of my favorite moments in President Trump's State of the Union address earlier this year is he stood in front of Congress and he said, last year Joe Biden said he couldn't secure the border unless Congress passed new legislation. We've now seen illegal crossings drop 99%. Turns out he didn't need new legislation, we just needed a new president. And I want to say, look, to be a New York conservative, you got to be tough. You got to be a little crazy, but you got to be tough. Look, I mean, that's like being a transgender vegan Texan. I will tell you, one of my real ex, PETA came out protesting. We were at a barbecue shop. PETA was there protesting. I said, look, they're exactly right. You elect the Democrat, they're going to ban barbecue. But I want to thank you guys. Because as a New York conservative, it means you have principle even when there's a price to be paid. Even when it is difficult. Even when those around you are shouting you down or disagreeing with your values, you stand tall nonetheless. And I'll tell you this, without the New York congressional delegation, the Democrats have a majority in Congress.
No doubt.
I appreciate the New York congressional delegation, and I appreciate my friend Mike Lawler. Every cycle, the Democrats set a target on his seat. They want to beat him. They want to turn this state entirely blue. They want to flip the Congress. They want to flip the country. And you know what? Y'all aren't going to let him, and you're going to re-elect Mike Lawler to come. And you want to talk victories for a minute? Let's talk about the one big, beautiful bill that was signed into law by the President on the 4th of July. That bill, without exaggeration, has more conservative victories in it than any legislation that has ever passed into law in American history. What's in that bill? Number one, we extended the Trump tax cuts and made them permanent. If we had not acted on December 31st, the entire country would have faced a $4 trillion tax increase. And let's be clear, that's what the Democrats wanted, was to raise taxes on every person here. Not only that, we invested over $100 billion in border security, the biggest investment American families are safer as a result. Not only did we extend the Trump tax cuts, but we passed the president's policy of no tax on tips. And no tax on overtime. And no tax on Social Security. Not only that, but we invested $150 billion in rebuilding our military and investing to stand up against the enemies America faces. Investing in our soldiers, our sailors, our airmen and Marines, investing in the next generation of military technology, things like drones and hypersonics, because this is a dangerous world and peace through strength works. On top of that, we invested over $24 billion in the Coast Guard, the largest investment in the Coast Guard in the history of America. To put that in scale, the annual budget of the Coast Guard is between $11 and $12 billion. So we invested in this one bill, double the total budget of the Coast Guard, to recapitalize the Coast Guard to aid in border security and stopping narco-traffickers and keeping people safe. And I'll tell you critically, we also invested in beating China. If you look at the Arctic right now, when it comes to Arctic ice cutters, China and Russia are kicking our ass. With this Coast Guard funding, we funded 11 new polar ice cutters. Because the Arctic is critical for national security, and I'll tell you what that also is doing. It's enabling us to bring shipbuilding back to the United States of America as billions of dollars are being put in new shipyards to build those ships. I will tell you, as part of the tax cut, we also saw the cap on salt deductions raised dramatically, and it is no exaggeration to say that happened because of the dogged determination of that man. And that means for New Yorkers that many of you will see your tax bill go down and go down significantly. And look, I'll tell you, this is an argument I had back in 2017 when we passed the first Trump tax cut. Here's my view. I don't like the state and local deduction because it subsidizes blue state politicians to raise taxes. But I also think when Republicans win, the result should be your taxes go down. And so I'd love to see the state and local tax deduction eliminated, but only if we're lowering rates enough that everyone's taxes are going down and you have more money to take home to your family at the end of the day. But I want to tell you, Mike fought ferociously for New York taxpayers, but he also fought productively. Look, we have an infinitesimally tiny majority in the House. And I would say that getting 218 House members together is like herding cats, but that's not fair to cats. And Mike played a pivotal part in getting the majority to yes and negotiating, being a pain in the neck sometimes, but getting everyone to yes, and that was critical, it was important, it was productive. I want to talk about two more victories that are in the one big beautiful bill that are particularly near and dear to my heart. They're both provisions that I authored. The first concerns school choice. In this one big beautiful bill, we passed the single largest federal school choice bill that has ever passed into law. Now let me tell you how it operates. Every taxpayer in America will be able to contribute up to $1,700 a year to a scholarship granting organization in the states. If you do so, you will get a dollar-for-dollar tax credit for the money you give. Now, not a deduction, a tax credit, which means if you write a $1,700 check, you owe $1,700 less to Uncle Sam. So it is free to you. Now, what this will do, this will unleash tens of billions of dollars of new scholarships for kids in K through 12. Low-income kids stuck in failing schools are going to be able to get scholarships, be able to get a great education, be able to get home. Now, am I the only one here who is frustrated that sometimes it seems that Democrats are savvy political knife fighters and sometimes it seems Republicans are running around in circles and don't know what we're doing? You look at the incentives that the Democrats put into different bills. Let's take Obamacare. Obamacare's Medicaid expansion. You look nationally, 37 states have expanded Medicaid to include young, healthy adults. 13 have not. The red states have not. Texas has not. What happens every 2 years? Every 2 years, the doctors and the hospitals come to the state legislature and say, look, you've got to expand Medicaid dramatically because look at all this free money coming from Washington if you do. And I'll tell you, in a red state, it's a battle to say no. We keep saying no. But it is a constant political ratchet. Well, with school choice, we employed it the other direction. So the way the school choice provision works is each state can choose whether to opt in to receiving the scholarships. Now, what's that likely to mean in the short term? In the short term, it means red states are all going to opt in. And unfortunately, it means blue states are probably going to opt out. So your knucklehead governor is probably going to say, no, we don't want scholarships in the state of New York. California will do the same thing. Illinois will do the same thing. But here's where the beauty of the political pressure and the ratchet works. If your governor opts out, kids in New York will not be eligible for the scholarships. However, you, the taxpayers, will still be able to write the checks and get the tax credit. But to do it, you've got to write a check in a state that allows those scholarships. So you're going to see a whole lot of New Yorkers writing a check to a Texas scholarship granting organization, to a Florida scholarship granting organization. But then play this out a couple of years. After a couple of years, New York parents are going to look around and say, wait a second, why are kids in Florida getting billions of dollars of scholarships? Don't our kids deserve scholarships? And we're going to create a constituency in New York, in California, in blue states across the country where parents are going to say to their idiot Democrat politicians, don't leave our kids out. And I'm going to predict in 10 years, all 50 states will have opted in. And the result is going to be millions of kids trapped in failing schools who get an excellent education. I will say, by the way, you know, Father, you look at the Catholic schools, the parochial schools, this provision is transformational for parochial schools across the country. This provision is transformational for Jewish day schools across the country. It creates the ability for kids to make the decision, I want the best education possible. And 10, 20, 30 years from now, we're going to look back at this provision and say it changed the entire country. There's a second provision in this bill that I think is equally transformational, and I'm proud to have authored it as well. It is the Invest America accounts, also called the Trump accounts. Now, what do these mean? How do these work? Starting next year, actually the 4th of July next year, the 250th birthday of America, every child in America will have a personal investment account open for them. For newborn kids, that account will be seeded with $1,000. Parents, family, employers can give up to $5,000 a year to invest in a tax-advantaged account like a Roth IRA. And all of that money will be invested in the S&P 500, a broad-based equity index. Now, what is so powerful about that? There are two things that are transformational about that. Number one, every child in America is going to experience the benefit of compound growth. Now look, most of us understand what compound growth can do, but more than 50% of Americans don't own a single stock or a single bond. What does that mean? That means a little girl born next year, she'll have an account open for her. She'll have $1,000 put in it automatically. If her parents or family or an employer puts $5,000 a year in that account, if that account grows at the historical rate of average of the S&P 500, that's 7% a year, by the time that little girl is 18, she will have $170,000 in that account. And if she keeps investing $5,000 a year, by the time she is 35, she will have $700,000 in that account. And we're not talking the kids of rich people. We're talking the kids of single moms, the kids of people cleaning homes, the people struggling. The ability to accumulate wealth transforms the future of those kids. But here's the second thing that gets me really excited as a conservative. We are creating a whole new generation of capitalists. I want you to think for a minute. 10 years from now, look, we've all seen the horrific statistics of young people who are losing faith in capitalism, who think socialism might be a good idea. Well, 10 years from now, a little boy will pull out his phone and he'll look at the app and he'll say, wait a second, I own that. And instead of corporations being these big, scary things, that little boy is going to say, I own $100 of Apple. I own $75 of Boeing, or $50 of McDonald's. And every child in America will be an owner of the largest employers in America. That will transform this country. And to give you a sense of the orders of magnitude, think back several decades ago when I don't know that anyone knew how much it would change, how people save for retirement. There are trillions of dollars invested in 401k accounts right now. In 10, 20, 30 years, there are going to be trillions of dollars invested in these Trump accounts, and we are going to transform this country as a nation of capitalists. So we're getting a lot done, and we're getting a lot done because of your leadership. And I got to say, look, I started by saying thank you for being New York conservatives. You've got Conrad Mamdani, which, unless New Yorkers have a sudden bout of sanity, he appears ready to take over. And look, I got to say, history has shown that when communists and jihadists take over, it goes really well. But I'm going to make a preemptive nomination. If this knucklehead wins, and I still pray he doesn't, I believe in miracles. But if this knucklehead wins, I want to nominate tonight Comrade Mamdani for next year's Conservative Party Man of the Year, because he will make more conservatives in New York than anyone in the history of the state. Look, my dad fled Cuba, and we've seen what happens when bearded communists take over. And it makes you love liberty. One final point. With Trump in office, the Democrats have lost their ever-loving minds. You take 10 issues. They've decided on 80-20 issues to take the 20 side of everything. So on border security, you want to secure the border, or do you want to do as the Democrats do, which is fly down to Central America and have daiquiris with criminals and gangbangers because, hey, you elect Democrats and we'll release more illegal immigrant gangbanger human traffickers. Like, surely there's someone in the Democrat Party that said, yeah, maybe like MS-13 should not be our poster child. You look at Democrats in law and order who decided abolishing the police is just a hunky-dory great idea. You look at day 23 of the Schumer shutdown, just shutting the government down because you hate Donald Trump. That's what they stand for, and that's actually the whole of their party, is just hatred of Donald Trump. And I want to give you a word of encouragement. Our party is now the party of common sense. We're the party of low taxes and reasonable regulations. We're the party of protecting your family, securing the border, supporting law enforcement to keep your kids safe. We're the party of defending free speech and religious liberty and the Second Amendment and the basic rights of being an American. And even the most wackadoodle Democrat, in the back of their mind, they know they're full of crap. Look, this is a party that cannot answer the question, what is a woman? That did not used to be a trick question. Like from the dawn of history, you could go back to cavemen. Walk up to a caveman and say, excuse me, sir, do you know what a woman is? Yes. That would be the answer. The caveman would be like, yep, sure do. And here's the dirty little secret. Every one of them, they know too. All right, I'm going to prove to you right now that Joe Biden knows what a woman is. In the entire time I've been in the Senate, not once, Mike, not once, have I seen Joe Biden come up and sniff Chuck Schumer's hair. He knows! And you know what? I am even more certain Bill Clinton knows what a woman is. They all know. And so we have the joy of being happy warriors and speaking the truth, and that's what y'all are doing. And I want to say thank you for fighting for America.